Let's try an example where we put all of this together. So here we go. First up, my amplitude is multiplying in front. That is a secret one, so all my amplitude is 1. Vertical shift is adding or subtracting outside, so that's going to be up 1. My period is the number being multiplied to the x, and remember that's technically the frequency, so we do 2 pi over that, keep switch flip, to get that my wave should be 4 pi long. And finally, the phase shift, so that's going to be right pi thirds. And this is a sine wave. So, knowing all of that, try to put all of this together on your own and do one step at a time. Come up with the graph, check your work, and then come back to see how you did. Let's see how you did. Vertical shift, I went up 1. Amplitude is up 1 and down 1 from that point. Now, for the phase shift and period this time, I made things a little squishy just because I knew I needed to do this 4 pi long. So if I made this one pi thirds, that would mean this would be pi, this would be 2 pi, this would be 3 pi, and I would run out of room to do 4 pi. So instead, I just went right pi thirds and just went 1/3 of a box, which makes that one pi and makes that one 4 pi. So then if I need this box to be 4 pi long, I just go 1/3 past the 4 pi mark, and that gives me my first box that I fit my sine wave into. And because I had extra space, I did the next one on the right. You could have done yours on the left or the right. So I went out to a little past 8 pi to get another 4 pi wide box. And there's 2 sine waves. Now let's look at B. Now, notice something very different between A and B. In A, they've separated the period from the phase shift with parentheses. In B, they've put them all together. You must have them separated. This is something we talked about in 1050. If you don't remember why, I wouldn't stress about it too much. Just know that they have to be separated. So before you even start this problem, I want you to rewrite it like this. So this is actually going to be plus pi fourths, because if I distribute that 2 in, that gives me the original one I started with. So I'm going to think of it like that. So then I have my amplitude, my frequency and period, my phase shift, and my vertical shift. So same thing as last time. I want you to try this on your own. You have them all listed out. Try to write out your 4 things and then graph them and then come back to check your work. Let's see how you did. Amplitude is 2, vertical shift is down 2, period is pi. I did 2 pi divided by the frequency, which is 2. And phase shift is going to be left pi fourths. So I went down 2 for my vertical shift, went up 2, down 2 for my amplitude. I went left pi fourths for my phase shift, and each wave needs to be pi long, so I went pi that way to get my first boundary line, and pi more that way to get my second boundary line. So then I had 2 boxes to put my 2 cosine waves into. Notice once again I divided it into fourths to make my points accurate. So we have 2 more here. Notice that in this one, the period is, or the frequency is separated like it's supposed to. This one, it's not. So let's rewrite this one. And real quick, separate that out. So it looks like that. And now what I want you to do is try both of these on your own. These are the last final graphing problems. After this, we just have some application problems to do. So try these both on your own and then come back to check your work. Let's check your work. On the first one, I got amplitude 3, vertical shift down 1. Period is 2 pi over the frequency of 3, and phase shift is right 2 pi thirds. This is a negative cosine wave, so we start at the bottom and do our C shape. So vertical shift, I went down 1. Amplitude, I went up 3, down 3. Phase shift, I went right 2 pi thirds to start me off. And then I only need the wave to be 2 pi thirds long. So I went 2 pi thirds more, and there's a wave. And then I went 2 pi thirds more, and there's a wave. You could have done another wave this direction. There's a lot of different ways you could do this one. You just need to make sure you have 2 negative cosine shapes drawn. Now, one little side note, especially when they get skinny, please make sure that your waves don't turn into points, V's. They should still have some curve to them as much as you can. For this one, amplitude 4, no vertical shift. Period is 2 pi over pi halves, and my pi's cancel. I ended up with just a 4. And phase shift is left 3. So vertical shift, stay on the x-axis. Amplitude up 4, down 4. Phase shift, I went left 3 for my starting point. And my period is 4 long, so I went 4 more and did a wave. 4 more and did a wave. And this is my sine shape, so I just fit my sine shape into my boxes. Notice my points every fourth for accuracy. And that is graphing sine and cosine waves. Hopefully you're a pro by now. We have one more video for today's lesson, and it is about doing some application problems using these graphs.